Skjalmod, Gothild waddles up to the window, and she pulls like the fur around her shoulders tighter. And she like joins you and looks down at Haedborg, which is like expanded now massively in the 2 years. You can see like that it stretches away down towards the coast, and like smoke rises from all of the houses that have like popped up in the last while in these like years of peace. You can see that there's people out in the courtyard like getting to work. It's really early in the morning, like it's not even bright yet, sort of gloom and cold, or sort of crisp. And you're looking out at all these people who are like going with their business. And she walks up next to you. She says, "A boy, I think."
Maybe wife, he'll say, smiling, though only the gods truly know.
She puts her hand on her belly. He's strong. You can feel him kick, husband. And she puts your hand on her belly. She's clearly exhausted and has been for like a few weeks. The wise woman had said that the baby would come within the month, and that was nearly a month ago. And you have taken every precaution to ensure that this child makes it after the loss of your infant daughter at only 3 months old, a year and a half ago. And Gothild never speaks about that. And so she says to you now, "He's strong, Skjalmod," and it's almost like pleading.
Of course. Remember what the cunning women had said. This time will be different. There is a strength in the child and in you, unbreakable.
She kind of nods at that. Yes. And she like lets out a sort of shaky sigh and looks out the window. And then there's like a, "Lord?"
He'll wince and look back to her with that, I'm not sure what the right word for it is, that look of pathetic apology. Like I have to, kill, I have to go and see to that, until press firmly with his other hand on the unborn child, plant a kiss on her forehead, and then make his way. Actually, can't put both hands up. Reckon that, and go up to the door and open it.
It's Skjalvik standing there, gaunter now even than when you first met him. He like walks with a cane. "It is Wosentag, Lord. A petition is already arriving."
Thank you, Skjalvik. You should send Elfhelm or Harkin to tell me these things. I've told you many times. Age will not make a passage up and down these stairs any easier. You have more important business than shambling to me. Thank you for letting me know.
He sort of smiles. Yeah, you're right, of course. Old habits, he'll say, and then he'll like limp. You know, it's like really difficult for him to get up those stairs with like the bad limp that he has, but it's like maybe a point of pride for him that he always does it himself. "They await, Lord," he'll say over his shoulder as he like begins to make the long march back down.
He'll look to make sure he gets eye contact with at least one of the guards standing out front of Gothild's chambers before following Skjalvik. Not like shaming the man by like supporting him, but being close enough that in case the man should need it, he could be there on my right hand side, of course.
Yes, he will like talk to you sort of. Well, I believe that we'll have merchants from Dorna as well as some of the valley lands today. It seems quite a few ships have arrived in Ulfsgren of late, and and he just like prattles on about all these like people who are coming to visit to like make trade deals and all that sort of business.
The Skjalmod marvels at how prolific the old man is, and makes a note to see that he has ample servants to like assist him.
Yeah, he never stops, and like the injury like has not gotten worse, but nor has it really gotten better. Like he walks with a pretty significant limp, and like, but he never stops working. He's like tireless. Halvar, the waves are smashing against the prow of Logbjordur, which is the great drakkar that was built to commemorate the unification of Headland. There's cargo of like rich iron from the mountains, of like delicious catfish and strange herbs from the fens, filling this ship and the other two with you. As you, Halvar Halfhand, stand to like the prow of this ship. You can see in the distance the great city of Drottbenham, which is the largest city in the world. The port like bustles with scores of ships, and beyond you can see the ancient walls that were placed there by the Jotun in elder days. They're at least 100 feet tall, and you can see them like from really significant distance away. And you like can see the city and how it teems, and you wonder how many thousands or tens of thousands even dwell there.
I think Halvar turns to one of the men closest to him. Have you not seen anything so big? I thought Haedborg was truly the biggest city in the world. And his eyes would drift back. He's still continually amazed at the wonders of the world. Probably he thanks his blessings that he had met the Jarl Skjalmod, or he would still be eking away substandard living in the fens. He rocks a mist of salt air, brushes his face. He runs his tongue across his lips and tastes it. He feels that rush of exhilaration.
Yeah, this is not the first time that you've come here, though every time you do, you are overwhelmed by it, like the size of it and the great sort of smog that hangs over the place, of like thick smoke from all of the many houses that burn wood fires. And you like scratch sort of absentmindedly at the scar of your neck that you gained in the rain and the muck and the blood of Ulfsgren 2 years ago. And Eric, one of the men who arrived with Vogan those years ago, stands behind you. He's like looking out at the city as well, with his arms folded. He's a man in his mid-40s. He's got this like salt and pepper beard and long hair, and he's become your sparring partner now that Grim is Thane of Ulfsgren. And he says, "Never gets old, hey lad."
I think even though 2 years have passed, there's still that bit of a boy in Halvar. His cheeks redden as he smiles at Eric, and he says, "I know sometimes I seem like a soft-headed fool, but yes, it amazes me even to this day.
It's not soft-headed. It's the biggest thing I've ever seen. Imagine how big they must have been to put those walls." And he's like staring at it as well in sort of like open wonder.
And that actually brings a question to Halvar. And much like the Halvar, youthful Halvar, he blurts out his question before he thinks better of it. Do you think, or have you ever heard of a Jotun, like seen one? Or are they gone from the world?
I've never seen one myself, but I know that the Jarl of Drottbenham's a Jotunet. He's Isai, Olveg. I've never seen him. But there's a colony of them here. But not Jotun, though. Little ones, I suppose. And then he like thinks about saying little about something that's like known to be between 12 and like 15 feet tall, and scratches his head again.
Yeah, and I think Halvar would have seen these Jotunet, and even they would be would leave him dumbfounded that something so formidable. He's heard tales of how one would hold off a shield wall, decimating the warriors that stand within. And he kind of gets a shudder down his spine. And he mumbles, probably loud enough for Eric to hear, I hope the gods favor me that I may never face a Jotunette, let alone a Jotun. And he looks back off to this grand city.
You sail past one of the many like stone towers that jut out of the ocean around the port, and you know that there are like these great chains that like lurk at the bottom of the seafloor that they can like tighten to create a sort of impassable barrier so no ships could approach. Again, like a wonder of architecture and of engineering that like men simply cannot do now. These great chains and like the wheels and pulleys that pull them. And you sail onwards towards the huge stone docks of Drakbenham. Thorin, you are riding and scouting. You know the lands of the Coldbrander almost brush up against those of Skjalmod, and you have, like, for many months now, ridden once a week to that border with 50 riders to ensure that all is well and make sure that everything is above board. And the journey's kind of become a bit routine, and as you like ride along, Arn is like humming this old song. He's always fucking humming, this man. He's become one of your best riders, and after he took the wound at Ulfsgren to his leg, everyone thought he wouldn't make it. But he persevered somehow, and now walks with just a bit of a limp, but he can still ride well. And as you make camp in like the usual place, it is this hollow with your backs against a mossy stone wall and a fire sheltered by lean-tos and tents. Blonde Magni leads his back against the moss and lets out this like long, dramatic sigh.
What's the matter, Magni? Did you lose in a pissing contest?
Is this what you want, Thorin?
To know if you lost a pissing contest? Not really.
Ha! He like spits into the fire. Is this what you want, Thorin? One trip out to pretend to be a warrior every week. Ride a horse to this place, to another place, and then back.
It is perhaps not the most exciting thing, but it helps keep it safe.
You know, Valhall is not something that Odin owes you just because you hold a weapon. You have to earn it. You have to make the Valkyries notice you. You have to make a worthy end. You cannot simply wait around and sleep with a sword in your hand and hope that the Allfather will take you to his side. And this, you like gestures around him, we are sleeping. We're hoping we die with a sword in our hand, but we're not forging a legend.
Not forging a legend. You were there when we took Ulfsgren.
And what have we done since? Killed fucking outlaws.
We don't all want songs written about us, Magni. Some of us are more content.
Then some of us will not go to the corpse hall.
Speak carefully, Magni.
When I joined Skjalmod, he was a warlord, and now he is a trade lord, like Southern is. And that is fine for Skjalmod. He makes his own legend. But me, I sit here, I ride a horse, and I walk across the border. I see nothing, week to week, month to month. Do not disrespect the man. I swore to serve him, and he has been very good to me. But there must be more than this. This is the work of nameless soldiery, and I want more than that.
If you are not content to serve Skjalmod and you wish to seek your glory elsewhere, speak to him.
And this is what you want?
I serve Skjalmod.
Yes. Continue to avoid answering the question, but think on it. The man has a very, very long shadow.
Go scout, Magni.
He shrugs. Go scout, Magni. Walk the border, Magni. And he like stands up and picks up his axe onto his shoulder and goes to get a horse.
Thorin kind of sits and crosses her arms. She looks over at Arn. If I paid you, would you piss on his bedroll?
Magni? No fucking way.
Yeah. Fine.
No, I'd sooner chew on a sword. Naki, you are walking with Fenya, and you're like creeping through the fens. Your every step is chosen very carefully, and the two of you move like shadows around the place. And even when you step into a puddle, it's like done silently. Your foot like dips slowly in as to not make a splash. And you can see it up ahead. And Fenya makes some hand gestures to you. And you like nod, accepting what she says, and then she leans over and kisses you on the cheek, and then like vanishes away around to come around the other side of the thing. You can see it now. It's this like huge creature that's been harrying your people in Philologa. It stands before you now, sort of boar-like in its appearance, like bristles along its back. And its matted fur is like wet with rain and greenish from the fens around it.
Yeah, Noki will. I imagine he's already crouched down, but he'll crouch down further, letting the kind of foliage that's round about disguise him. I'm sure they've done this many a time on a hunt, where Fenya's done the legwork. So he patiently waits and watches his boar while she gets into position.
You see her like creeping around to the back of it, and you can like make eye contact with her across the gap, and she like winks at you and grins and like knocks an arrow, and you can see that it turns to look at her, and it rises up onto two legs, and there's this like bright light shining from its chest.
There's the sound of a twig snapping into under Naki's foot as this happens, and he too rises.
You can see her stand there, and her hair is soaking wet. She like stands up and like pulls the arrow, and it hits into the thing and lets out this like strange noise. But she's like floating now as if she's underwater, and her hair is like upside down. And she looks at you with these like black eyes like a fish, and she knocks another arrow and fires it at you. And then you like wake up and you're soaked in sweat.
I imagine wherever he is, if he wakes up at the forest or in the fens or back in the homestead, wherever it is he wakes up, he rolls about, rolls over, desperately flailing at the ground. His reality kind of hits him.
Yeah, you like
hits him.
thrash in one direction and then the other, and you can see that Fenya is there. She's like calm and cozy beneath the furs. The swell of her belly visible beneath even the covers. And she opens up like an eye to look at you, sort of angry. Shut up, I'm sleeping.
Oh, I need some air.
What's wrong?
get up, probably no doubt speared by her gaze, and stroll out towards the night.
Yeah, as you like pull the covers away, you can like feel next to Fenya that like her pillow is wet. As you like pull your hand away, you think.
Yeah, I think he'll give a kind of second glance as she rolls over to her hair, see if it's wet, if there's any of the seaweed he saw before tangled in there.
Yeah, as you like look closer, you can like take some of her hair and you can feel that it is wet. There's no seaweed, but this is not the first time this has happened. You've had this dream before, or ones like it, and they seem becoming like more frequent.
He's put it to the back of his mind for so long now, for this to be happening. He knows, he's seen enough to know this is some kind of omen. He probably feels it in his stomach, the bottom of his wall dropping out each time he has this dream. I don't know who would be about to discuss this with, who would know about such things.
You're in your Thaindom, Felilagr, which is like a lot of it has been rebuilt over the last 2 years. Now it's middle of the night, so most people would be asleep, but you would know that they're like, there's a Gothi here you could talk to.
That's what he'll do then. He'll throw on his breeches and his furs over his shoulders and stroll out towards the Gothi.
Halvar, you like jump down onto the dock, and you go through the usual process, shouting orders at men to like pull things from the dock from the ships onto the dock, and it's like this flurry of activity. And like the dockmaster comes and takes payment for your stay, and you have to negotiate with him and come to a price that's fair. You know this man at this stage. You would have done this many times, and so you have the usual sort of like back and forth bullshittery where he gives you like a ridiculous price and then you give him a ridiculous one in return, and then you end up somewhere in the middle that's like reasonable for both people. And all around you, like the men and women who are with you are unloading cargo onto the stone docks of the city. Well, you and Eric and like some others make your way to Henrik's, which is a mead hall that you frequent whenever you come here.
I think that Halvar would have a smile on his face as he has a friendly slap onto Eric's shoulder and says, "It was a good journey. I will get the first. You will get the second, right?" And he would look over his shoulder at the other men that are going with them and smile. "And you, the third," he smiles to one of them.
Yeah, there's like good-natured cheer among them as well. It's been probably over 2 weeks, I guess, that you sailed to get here. It's like no small journey. And it's good to be like back on land, and certainly nice to get some mead at long last. And you can like push your way in to Henrik's, which is like relatively busy. It's like mid-morning. And there's people having breakfast and things like that. And it's like warm in here, really, really warm. That kind of warm where in the winter it's like very cold outside and very warm inside, and you have to take off your coat to avoid sweating. And you can like find a table and sit. And it's not long until Henrik will come to your table and like sit with you and like extend his hand in a shake. "Ah, lad, so good to see you."
The same. It was a good journey for us this time. Any news since we were last here?
Oh, well, There's a skirmish happened to the west. Coldbranders men came and brushed up against our border. Ulfsgren gave him what for, as you can expect. And you would know that like Drotbenham is like has an army much bigger than most jarldoms, and they also have like an actual like colony of Jotunnet who live here, and so like it's very hard to deal with. And so he like says that with a sort of like smile, which suggests to you that like they obviously won. Other than that, the usual shit.
He would smile and he would lean in close, as though he's saying a secret, but he'd know it's not. So I'm getting the first drinks for these boys here. Make sure you get us the good mead.
He'll smile and he'll say, "I'll see your coin first."
I think he would sit back. This look of oh jeez, like he's hurt. This hurt look on his face, and he looks down. All these years, and you still don't trust me. And he would reach down and pull a loose purse, and it has just some bits of hack silver. He shakes it, kind of tosses it up in his hand so that the man can hear it. When have I ever not paid?
Well, there was that one time, and I'd make it a policy usually not to sell alcohol to children. And he'll like slap you on the shoulder.
I think he would return. He would chuckle as well. I imagine the men around Halvar would laugh. He being the youngest among them.
Yeah, for sure.
Just get the damn drinks. And he would start counting out the hack silver.
He'll like wave for one of the serving women to like come over and bring them. And he'll say, "And how are things with Skjalmod? All is well there?"
He smiles and says, "Still ever the angry bear." And he smiles. He's a great man. He's done good for me and good for my people. So
he's brought peace, no? So it seems no war in Headland for a long time.
I think he is happy. He's become, and he pauses for a moment, contented. He married his wife. It was, and Halvar didn't know this at the time. It was only in this 2 years passing. He married her for reasons other than love. I cannot say that he loves her now, but I have seen an affection grow in these years.
Only poor people. He like smiles and says, "Only poor people marry for love."
Is that? And he looks at him and locks eyes with him. No, that can't be true.
That's how it is. You have to marry someone with more money than you. That's what you're supposed to do. You have money now. You'll have to marry someone rich.
Halvar smiles. I will never be as important a man as Skjalmod. For that I am grateful if it means that I cannot marry the woman I love.
He sort of smiles at you with like genuine affection. I think you'll see when you get older that it's not so easy. It's often not your decision.
I think Halvar would smile. Well, then I shall hope you are wrong then.
I hope so too. And you are happy? Skjalmod is happy, but what about you?
He smiles. He looks around and he says, "What sort of man gets to make this journey to such a great city, to see such great people. And he smiles as he looks at Henrik. He goes, I want for nothing. I have a jarl that is fair, but he is and just,
But you've made the journey many times. You make the same journey twice a year. Is it any different than the fisherman who walks from his house to the beach and back?
I don't think Helver's ever thought about that before. And when Henrik asks him that, he would see him mull it over. Guess that it isn't. I have heard grumbles for sure. Some of the warriors, they miss the days of fighting, reaving. I myself cannot say that I share that same sentiment. I have never reaved growing in the fens, but I have fought too much, I think. If I never see battle again.
But you're a warrior, Halvar. And warriors are for war. That's what they're for. And you, I mean, no offense by this. This is always what happens when Jarls get rich, is warriors turn to grain counters. Jarls get richer, they fight less and make more money. But is this how you thought you'd make your legend? Trading catfish?
Shakes his head. Truth be told, I did not know. I thought I'd be covered with mud and shit in the fens, eating frogs.
Oh, those frogs are delicious, though. Did you bring me some?
He laughs. He says, of course. And he looks at one of the other men, the other side of Eric, and he kind of nods to him, and he puts this burlap sack onto the table, slides it over to Halvar, who then starts to hand it to Henrik, and then stops. I do not welcome war, but don't misunderstand that means that I will not do what I must to protect my people and my jarl. And he hands him the sack.
He'll take it. There's someone you should speak to. I think it would do you good. I can arrange for him to come here.
His eyebrow raises a bit. And who is this?
He's one of the tumult, one of the mercenaries. I think that you need adventure, Halvar. I think you need to broaden your horizons. You don't want to end up like me, an old fuck who hasn't gone anywhere in years. They asked for you. I said I would ask you.
I don't think Halvar says anything. Halvar is not as skilled as Noki in negotiation, and he knows that his skills rely in getting a fair price for goods, which is why Skjalmod sends him on this journey twice a year. But he nods slowly.
Good. Well, he knocks on the table and stands. Helga will bring food and mead. Enjoy yourselves while you are here, and I will have them come and speak with you later. You'll be here for a few days, I assume.
Aye, we will be.
Good. I'll see you later, Halvar. And he'll smile again and wander off, leaving you to the other guys with you who look to you with a mix of that was odd and also mercenary work. That could be super exciting. And so there's a range of emotions there.
Yeah, I think Halvar would exchange that same look with definitely with Eric.
Skjalmod, you like walk down into the great hall of Haedborg. It's much bigger than that of Skjalvik. It's like this great stone chamber with banners hanging. The tapestry has been made to like commemorate the Battle of Ulfsgren, and it shows you like leading through the breach all the way through into the shield wall on the inside, and it shows the wolf like climbing the ramparts. And all these like figures that are visible on this beautiful tapestry that's been like made to commemorate it. And you can see that it's busy in here already early in the day. Now that you are Jarl of Headland, it's not like you get a lot of minor petitioners. Most people who come here don't do so because they're missing chickens or that they want to ask your permission to do some minor thing. Now it's bigger deals because you have Thanes beneath you and you have Carls beneath them and such. And so it begins, as it does every Wednesday, with the trade petitions. So all these merchants come from all over, notably, like most of them from the south, come to seek like exclusive trade deals or like specific trade deals with you. Like if you want lumber, someone from Sáttr would like put up this price and say he'll be the only person who brings you lumber, and then blah blah blah. Another guy will make the same deal, and they'll like stand, in groups of 3 or 4 and sort of like petition you for different things here and there. And this will go on for like 2 or 3 hours, and it happens every Wednesday. Different deals from different places. Chilric usually is the one who like deals with this stuff more specifically. He like stands at your shoulder and like takes notes, and then eventually like listens very carefully and will like lean down to you and say, "You should go with this man, Lord," kind of thing. So that's how it opens basically every week.
Usually relishes this, but not in the past weeks, and stifles the need to look over his shoulder back up the stairway that he'd come down. And he'll find his way to the seats and tables and petitioners, relying heavily on Choric's guidance economically, but always factoring the politics of the particulars before agreeing to a deal. Or negotiating further.
A man steps forward. He's got a black eye. He's certainly a warrior, though he's not one that you know. And he says, "Jarl, I seek permission to have a home gang. I've been affronted and insulted here."
He'll look about to try and see if the Gothi is about.
Yeah, he wouldn't be far away.
Call gesture for a servant to go grab the Gothi, but in the meantime, I'll ask the man, like, what is the grievance and who do you accuse?
I travel with merchant. We sat in a bar. One of your men, he called me a name. I will not repeat it here. And for that insult, I seek home gang. And yeah, the Gothi would arrive not long later. Like a disheveled man, tall and thin, with like this long, very, very long beard. He'll like come with these like long fingernails as well. Will like come and stand at your side and like look over the thing. And he'll look to you and say, "Seems reasonable, Lord. Insults are often answered with duels."
I'll turn back to the man and say, "Is the insult so grievous that your only retort would be steel, friend?"
"Yes, Jarl."
Then I would hear it before I decide. And I'll rise up and go down to the man so that he doesn't have to like say it loudly, but so that I can hear.
Yeah, he'll explain to you that like they were playing dice in a bar. One of your men, red-headed man, Called him ergi, which is like unmanly, basically, and it's like one of the worst insults that you can give, and it's like known to cause these kind of disputes.
The red-headed man, could I guess who he might be? And if so, was he in Haedborg, so I could call for him?
Yeah, this probably you would know. Gunnar has been in like quite a few fights since he's come back from his journey. Though like rarely have they ended in a home gang. He's been in like a few scraps.
It's with trepidation that I'll call for Gunnar. And I'll say to the man that I'll think on the matter, and when Gunnar comes, we'll discuss it further. But there are other petitioners, so I'll deal with as many of them as I can between now and when Gunnar arrives. And I'll thank you for your patience and coming to me to seek right to home gang rather than risk murder in the streets of these peaceful lands. Enjoy the fare and drink while we decide.
Thank you, Jarl. Yeah, you can send one of the boys to like go and find Gunnar, and in the meantime, deal with like the rest of these petitioners. As I say, it's like a lot of sort of busybody stuff, like nothing that like requires a difficult decision, just requires your sort of stamp of approval over and over again, or like a decision of which fat, greedy merchant do you want to give the money to, which is like generally the case now on Odin's days. Much less is it about justice, much more is about money.
Yeah, ever since those duties of governance came over to Tears Day after the Battle of Ulfsgren in Hadeland, he relishes the Tears Day rather than the Wodenstag these days, but is a necessary part of it. And so try and give what attention is not with Gothild and their child to these merchants.
You'll spend like another hour or two dealing with these merchants and diplomats and things. People will come from like other jarls to like seek audience, or like will say that like their jarl is like traveling through this area and would like to come and speak with you, or like have happens frequently that like jarls will visit. You're in pretty good relations with certainly Jarl Wiglaf to your east. You have like been friendly with, not like a friend, but also not like an enemy. Naki, you're like walking through the early morning sort of mist out of the now stone castle of Felalige. What was once a Jotun tower has now become a sort of castle in which you live. Small enough, but definitely like defensible here in the fens. And you like walk down the great many stairs and out into the sort of humid but chilly fens beyond, out of the village itself, and into the actual fen area. And it's a little bit of time before you like come to the sacred stone where the Gothi lives. There's like a little hovel here, and you can like clear your throat, and he'll awaken and like crawl outside. He's like a filthy man with like this mad dreadlocks and like matted beard. He's got these like long fingernails and tattoos all over his body. He like comes out in just a loincloth and like pulls furs on top. Oh yeah, Thane? What time is it? He like looks up at the sky, and you can see that one of his eyes is milky, and the other one changes color day to day. You think, like looks around, sort of confused.
It is early or late, depending.
He nods at that, like that's good wisdom.
I imagine Noki's been here several times before, and he's probably fought to bring at least a skin of something, and maybe something to eat, some dried meat. And he'll gesture for the man to sit next to the stone and hand the things over as he sits down.
Thank you. And he'll like begin to chew. He's not one for manners, this Gothi. Maybe why you keep him around. He's like brutally honest in every instance. So he just begins eating and like looking. He like throws some logs to stoke the fire outside of his house. That like warms. He lives in a tent, not a house, and so like the fire warms the inside of it from out here. And he like looks to you. Dreams, nightmares, or simply lonely? And he'll smile.
I've never been as lonely as to seek you out for company. But I have been troubled. Yes, you could say nightmares.
Often they are omens sent by the gods. And they show us in cryptic ways what might come to pass.
There's nothing cryptic about this. I think it is perfectly clear. But I need to know it. Is it indeed an omen?
He'll scratch at his beard with his long fingernails. What was it? You must be specific. The details are very important.
You know of Fenya and the injury,
Of course, yes.
and you know of the witch.
He nods somewhat more gravely.
Since that incident, Fenya has been herself, although not entirely. There was a moment when she was recovering. I saw her float, suspended as if drowning in the sea. And she spoke to me then, but it wasn't Fenya. It was something inside. And now I dream of this thing, of it coming back.
He reaches up and clutches the amulet, a bone amulet of Mjolnir. It's like one of the only things that he owns. Skaggery. Witchcraft. Would have been better that she died. And he's like looking into the fire and like shaking his head. I know
She did
little.
not die. Sorry.
You go.
Nokia will say, but she did not die. She lived, and she will continue to live. And he'll lean just a little bit closer. There's a threat behind it, and he'll lean in to kind of emphasise it.
Hmm. He'll like drum his like long fingernails against the log he's sitting on. I know little of witchcraft, of Seath. Men should not know such things. It is not for us. I don't know. The drowning? Perhaps Ran? Sea bitch? I do not know, Nucky, what this means, but it cannot be good. Women do not float. And a voice that is not your own. They say that the Saith Kona, they allow spirits to possess them so they can do their foul magics. Is Fenya one of them?
No, if she was, no. she couldn't be.
And I do not know the answer. But always, when you meddle with magics, and with the old things that use those magics, there is a price. And maybe you don't pay it for a long time, but always you pay it.
But the question remains, exactly what is the price? Is it simply to be tormented for the rest of my life? I can live with that. Hell, I have been living with that. But is the price blood? Something worse? If you don't know the answers, then you may surely know where to seek them.
Bargains struck with witches are mysterious. I do not know. Maybe she would know, the old crone, skag. Maybe. But would she tell you? They delight in torturing men. And they love to see us squirm like worms. I do not know.
Then I might go to her and I might squirm. I will squirm so much that she'll be delighted. And she'll keep Fenya as Fenya, just to see me tormented.
It is often life that they seek. The death of one, the beginning of one. Control. That is what I know of them. They are insidious, nefarious. But if you must speak with her, then you should speak with her.
Yeah, when the Goffy says that, there's the memory in Noki's mind of the moment when Fenya told him that she was pregnant, and he thinks of the child at that point, the death of one, the beginning of another. He was just slap his legs, stand up, kick a part of the debris from this Goffy's tent, and he'll go to say something else and stop himself because his mind is already made up. He's going to travel to see the witch.
Be careful. Their words, they are riddles. They are backwards and forwards and sideways. Watch you do not become trapped in them.
Well, fortunately for me, my words are like honey. So her words will become trapped in mine, and they will not be able to twist and turn and move, and I will see them for what they are.
I hope that is so, Nucky. I hope that is so.
You cannot shit talk a shit talker, and he'll give his knocky grin as he walks away.
Aaron, you're cleaning your axe now after you've just like caught the final, you think the final band of outlaws. Like there are some people among yours, like scouts that had found some hiding in the woods, and like a carefully orchestrated attack has like run them down. And you're like, your foot is like on the shoulder of a man as you like wriggle your axe back and forth to pull it out of his skull, and then with a satisfying, it pulls out. You, like wipe it on his tunic, and put it back at your belt. And the men around are like pleased. Only one dead. You attacked with like overwhelming force, and it seems like maybe now the outlaws are dealt with.
She'll look around to Magni. Was that so boring, Magni? Did you have a nap?
He shrugs and spits. Do you think they'll write songs about this?
They write songs of the glory of Haedborg, of its peace and prosperity.
I fuck peace.
You fuck anything that moves.
He grins, and you can see like some of his black teeth. He like is searching among the outlaws and like rifling through their pockets and like taking things. You see him like one of them has a ring, but it won't come off the finger, and he just like cuts the finger off and pulls the ring at the other side. And others are like going around and like smashing silver teeth out of mouths of dead men and like looting them for all they're worth.
Perhaps you are right, Magni. Perhaps there's a little glory in this. You could seek other opportunity.
Where? What would I do? Find another Jarl with less money and do the same thing again. They will call me Magni Jarlbringer, Jarl Maker.
And think of the stories they'll tell, hey?
Always the Huskarl, never the Jarl. He'll smile.
We'll find yourself a sickly Jarl, and maybe when he dies, you can take over, eh?
Yeah.
You know, back... That was some years ago now, but Jarl Rafni, on more than one occasion, hired other men, mercenaries. They were always skilled warriors and seemed well paid for their efforts.
I'd have to go to Gunland to be a mercenary. I think. All of the big ones are there. No, I don't want to go to Gunland.
Why not? The Gunland girls are all so fair as me.
He like looks at you for a second.
She winks.
I'm not a fan of Gunland. Anyway, mercenary fighting. Not quite the same.
What, would you rather take on Colbrand yourself? Storm his lands?
Thorn! One of the men is like, rides his horse quickly. You have to... Quick.
Spit it out, Eagle.
Come and look.
I shall follow quickly.
You can like run out of the woods to like the crest of a hill, and you can see that there's like a group of people walking. There's like 8 riders on horses. They're a couple of 100 feet away. You can see like a banner flying of a dragon. You can see that walking with them is a Jotunnet, like a man who's like 12 feet tall. He's got horns, like an aurochs, and he's like walking at the speed the horses are trotting at. And it don't seem to like, it's not like an army, but they're just like riding. It looks like the men are like well appointed with like furs and mail and things like that, and they're riding towards where the border would be.
Yeah. Thorin will clutch for her Mjolnir amulet, seeing this humongous, man-like creature. To your horses. We should meet them at the border. Perhaps they are dignitaries.
The men get to it.
Yeah, inside she's quaking a little bit, having not seen one of these in person before and only heard stories, but it's unmistakable.
And so you ride to meet these people in the middle ground between your two lands. And we're just going to take a quick break there, I think. And exhale. And that's been really fun so far. I'll be back in like 5 minutes.
Back.
That was great, Nico.
Oh my god.
Ambush and
so
slaughter
good.
them all, Taylor. Nah, just kidding.
Sort of kidding. Checks. I'm so scared for Finya and Naki. And that baby.
It's not looking good, is it?
That's not looking good. Like, I was worried when Gundus was pregnant, but now Finya's pregnant too? There's no way
Yeah.
both of those babies are making it. It's Iskolfinn. Oh, it's gonna crush me. And Finya's gonna kill us all.
Should be fine.
Yeah,
Women
yeah,
don't float.
Yeah, no, Fenya won't kill anybody. The baby will kill us all.
The
Mm.
Myrr.
There it is.
I'm going to go stare at the sun. I'll be back.
I think I will make tea.
I'm back.
Boy, this is great. I just get to like sit back and eat my popcorn for 3/4 of the session and just listen to all the goodness. It's a lot of
Yeah.
work for you, but
Well, yeah. I think it's good. I have like some themes and stuff going on. I'm keen to see what happens.
oh, it's so good. And I did see a doctor today, by the way. I don't have
Good.
bronchitis or pneumonia, so
Excellent.
meh.
Well, that's good news.
I do have a sinus infection. So,
See? So you got to go to the doctor.
You win some, you lose some. But now I have really good drugs.
Are we all back?
I don't know if Nico is. He went to go actually look at the sun. Blasphemy.
This is pushing the limits of what's an acceptable amount of time to go on a break.
Obviously, the sun caught him looking as he's getting a stern telling off.
Yeah. No, Dread Venom is like north of Goldfleece's land. It's like there's a big sort of inlet sea where like Gunland borders Asploth, and like there's a big sea there, and like on like basically controlling that whole sort of sea area is Dread Venom. It's run by Jarl Ulfsgren, who is a Jotunnet. And he's been Jarl there for like hundreds of years.
That's just crazy.
So you would have sailed Halvar like from the fens, like all the way across the coast, like past Castle, and then like turn north into the inlet, like between Gunland and Asbloth, and then in through like the little gap to where the big lake is, or like the big sea is in the middle, like right where it says Asbloth on the huge map. Is where you are. Do you see in the overlay like the
Yeah, I'm looking at the map right now, actually.
the square underneath the B? That's where the city is.
Okay.
And then like you came from the fens, which are like barely visible on the bottom of the image here. It's a pretty significant distance.
Yeah, that is quite the journey.
So you'd make that journey like twice a year, I guess, like taking stuff from the fens up there and then picking up stuff there and like bringing it back.
Wow, I'm just appreciating how big Iskolfinn is based on that.
Oh yeah, it's huge. Just ridiculously huge. Like this game has taken part in this like really specific sphere of it, but like we've never done a game in Gunland. We've never done a game in like so many of the places are unexplored.
Yeah, Saga took place. Was it in Sáttr?
It was in Asbloth, like up.
Oh, it was okay.
Yep, like west coast of Asbloth. Nico, what's going on?
Maybe one of those deadly creatures in Australia finally got him.
Ambushed him. Yep. Okie doke. So. Okay. Halvar, you're sitting in Henrik's the next day as like the men are taking care of the day-to-day sort of stuff, the gathering of like more supplies, and like you've done a lot of that sort of negotiating with like merchants you would know pretty well, picking up things that you don't really make a lot of in Haedborg. And you're like coming to the end of the day and you're sitting having dinner in Henrik's. When like a man comes and sits opposite you, there's other men with him, and you can tell by their look they're warriors. They're like big, a lot of grim faces, not in like a threatening way, but they come and sit around you in the mead hall, you and Eric. As the man sits opposite you with this like scar running down the right side of his face, and he like smiles, and you can see that he has like both of his canine teeth are silver. He like sits down opposite you, puts his hands on the table, and crosses them. You're Halvar.
He just nods. Still chewing the mouthful of food that he has.
You've heard things about you, Halvar. Heard you'd be a good addition. Heard now you're a bean counter. No way for a warrior to live.
He sucks his teeth, puts down, drops the chicken bone, now pulled clean of its meat, wipes the grease off on his trousers. And who's been saying that?
Well, lots of people say that. Half-hand. Well-known warrior, leads men. When the shield shake is upon them, he's there, in the middle, unafraid. We've heard these things. We've heard people like you, and men follow you. I want to offer you another life.
Sight unseen, you would do this just based on tales you have heard.
Often Often I think that tales and stories are a better test of a man's character than actually meeting him.
So
a man might look unassuming, might look like he's not much. But the way that others talk about him, that says a lot. And people talk about you well, Halvar Halfhand.
What is it that you would propose? That I would leave my Jarl? Because and he kind of, his mouth twists around this, because I am a counter of beans.
There's no insult to say that you are a counter of beans when you count beans. And he like shrugs, like that's obvious to him anyway. I'm called Silverfang. It's a silly name, and he like smiles again and shows you his teeth.
I think Halvar would just say fitting. And he would instinctively just kind of flex the remaining fingers in his left hand. And he lifts it up and is showing where the two are missing. And he says, we are not very creative in our names, huh?
No. We're a lot alike, you and I think. He smiles again. The Tumult. That's where I am from. We're a company of warriors, fight for pay. Brotherhood. I would think that you have a lot ahead of you. You're young, talented, and good warrior. You could make a name for yourself with us and make yourself rich. And then, after all that, you still want to go back to your Jarl, back you go. A year. You come with us, maybe.
Halvar reaches for his cup, more to buy himself time than the need to have the drink that he takes. Wipes his mouth with the back of his hand, sets the cup down. A year, you say? Are you the leader of these men?
I am.
Kind of nods his head slowly as he's runs his tongue across his teeth. And what am I to tell my Jarl? After all he has done, he had trust in me these past few years. I just abandoned him then. For money?
You tell him whatever you like. It's really your decision. Did you swear an oath to serve him forever and ever and ever until the day you die?
Shakes his head. No.
If this Jarl is good to you and kind to you the way that he should be, you ask him this favor, he will not deny you.
I would lie to you if I told you I was not interested. It's intriguing to me. A month.
So your name.
Oh, sorry.
You go, sorry.
Yeah, he says a month. If you see me in a month, you will know my word. You'll know my answer. I will be here in a month, or I will not. Either way, you'll know what I have decided. He takes another drink, reaches a hand, his hand across to this man.
Yeah, he takes it and he looks you in the eye. I would be glad to sew your name into the banner. You'd be one of a great many, though not that many. He says, we are selective and careful of who we take. And so I hope to see you in a month, Halvar. Think about what you leave behind. Do you want your legacy to be warrior of the tumult? Or do you want it to be bean counter?
I don't think Halvar says anything more to him. He locks eyes with him, not in a menacing or challenging way, just meeting this guy's gaze man to man. Then he would slowly nod. He can't help. He feels, the hackles come up on his back when he calls him says bean counter again. Whether he means it insult or not, Halvar takes it that way. But he nods, he smiles.
Yeah, he shakes her hand and smiles in return and stands. A month then, and he knocks on the table, and then he kind of gestures with his head, and the men with him all leave.
Once the man is gone, Halvar turns to, I think you said Eric was there as well.
Yeah.
He turns to Eric. You're older than me, seen more of the world. Have you heard of these tumult?
They have a good reputation. Small. They're not the Spear Brothers or anything, but they have a good reputation for following The good ways. They're not reavers, warriors.
They are honorable men, then, from what you have heard.
As far as I know, yes. Seems a likable fellow.
Years ago, I was told you cannot always judge a man just by the sugar of his words. His words were definitely sweet to my ears. And he shakes his head, like almost arguing with himself. But I will think about it more, I think. Would you go?
He scratches his beard. If I was you, I would go. But I'm old. And Skjalmod only recently brought me into his service, and I think I don't seek adventure. Not in the same way that you do. Not anymore. I've done my wandering. But if I was you, young, successful, I would go. Forge a name. You could be Jarl someday.
Halvar nods his head, gets the attention of a girl going by, taps his cup, indicates the cup, the empty cup in front of Eric. Then he looks back to Eric. These last 2 years, I valued your, not only your training, but your counsel. My Jarl is much too busy now to worry himself with one such as me. I give weight to your words. But this is not a decision that I think one should make lightly. I should seek a sign from the gods, I think.
Seems wise. And you must speak with Skjalmod. You cannot simply not return.
Yeah, and that's what Halvar is thinking. Any decision he would make would not be before he stands before his Jarl and speaks to him.
And Naki, you've like wandered through the swamps and the fens. You've taken like a small boat out in the early morning to the island of the witch. And as always, like when you get here, you realize like how verdant this is compared to even the other places in the fens. And there's like two sort of doe near the, it's not even a beach, but like where the land begins, that are like chewing on some grass. And as you like get out of the boat, they don't like run or flee or anything. And as you like approach the house, you can see the wood chopper, who always seems to be chopping wood, standing and watching. He like gives a nod.
Like all those years ago, when he was last here, he'll look at the woodsman and give the nod back. And then his eyes will focus on the door of this hut as he steals himself.
It opens as you look, and then no one seems to stand by the door.
I think a part of him would have been waiting for something like that. Something that's designed to unnerve him. So it'll actually make him walk over the faster towards it.
You can enter into the small room, small house, and as always, like are assaulted by the sort of acrid smells of like potion making and like unguents and poultices and things like that. The strange like things that hang from the ceiling and like are in all the jars around this witch's house. She's sitting in like a rocking chair in the back of the room, and she's knitting. Noki.
I know that you know why I'm here, and I know that you know why it is now. And I know your words drip with half-truths, outright lies and deception. And I know this will not serve you well this day, where answers are sought, clear as fog, mountain spring water, and cold as the rock it rolls over.
And says, price was paid, will be paid, for a gift given a long time ago. It was spoken that her life would be saved, and saved it has been. And what follows now? Those things that gift life seek their recompense.
And they seek it from Fenya, from the child, from me.
I do not speak for these things, do not know their purpose any more than you. I only know that always there was a cost.
And what if one doesn't want the cost paid? What if one wants to change the terms of the agreement?
She stops rocking in her chair and puts the knitting needles down. Very difficult. Change terms. Those beyond this world.
You say difficult, you do not say impossible.
It is not impossible, though I would urge against it.
Tell me why.
They enjoy contracts and negotiations, and they are better at it than you. And you will go to change the terms, and you will find yourself poorer than before.
Perhaps, or perhaps not. And he's thinking about this in his head. These words that she's just said. And she's right. They would be better at negotiating than Noki. But he does know someone who is skilled in these kind of things. Several people, actually.
What they ask now, I do not know. But life cannot simply be given. So something must pay for that. Maybe it will be Fenya. Maybe the child. Maybe you. Maybe another child 100 miles away. Their ways are mysterious, and it is not for us to know.
And the dreams I've been having, of
The rower.
the roar.
Something like that cannot die. Not truly. I believe it lingers within Fenya. She'll pick up the needles again and begin to weave.
But the terms can be changed.
Not by me. You would have to speak to those ancient things that live in a world parallel to ours. Maybe Forney will know. The troll.
I have to try. I've heard your warning and I believe it to be true. Though most of your words. I'm not so sure. But I must try something.
Try then, if you must. I think the skeins of your fate will twist unpleasantly.
You think that, or you know it?
She looks up at you for the first time and then shrugs. I'm just an old woman. What do I know?
Nocky will shake his head at that and step back out the door. And then he'll turn and look at her one last time. Why does he chop wood all the time?
It gets cold.
He'll look up at the sky and the verdant nature all around him. But that answer satisfies him enough, and he will move away, giving the nod to the woodsman on his way past.
Thorin, you're leading this band of men now across. You're kind of halfway between Skjalmod's lands, and the Jarl's lands of Jarl Coldbrander, and that is within Goldenfleece's lands. Though he himself is like no great Jarl, nor is he particularly wealthy despite his name. And so you have been able to like wander into and out of these lands like unmolested for just about a year and a half. And this like strange troop approaches, and they see you and they stop. And one of them rides forward with the Jotnet walking next to him. And they would that would suggest to you that they want to speak.
Yeah, Thorin would ride forward, and Blondback is not as big as a Jotnet, but he's probably the biggest guy she's got. And so she'd motion for him to come up with her.
As you ride closer, one of the man Wears like pretty fine chain. He's got like a thick wolf pelt around his shoulders. And he has like it looks like a pretty brutal scar in his face that was like done by frostbite or something like that. Like there's like a chunk missing out of his cheek. The Jotun beside him simply like walks and then stops, and then like looks up, and you can hear like as you approach, it's like of its breath. The horses are very, very nervous of like approaching it. The man looks up. Who are you, and why do you have authority to treat with me? Are you Jarl of this place?
I'm Thorin, Huskar to Skjalmod. Who are you, and why do you have authority to treat with me?
He like looks at the giant next to him and then back to you. Like that's a clear answer. Skjalmod. That's interesting. We had come to speak with Golden Fleece and inform him of his situation, but Skjalmod, that's interesting. I know that Mayar would like to speak with him at some stage in the future.
What situation do you speak of?
Golden Fleece, his lands are confiscated, taken.
For what reason? Under whose authority?
Coldbrander has said so, and as he says, things happen. You only speak, and reality changes.
Well, this is the border of Golden Fleece's land. Over there. And she'll kind of point to perhaps the ridge where the agreed upon border is.
What is your name?
I told you I am Thorin.
Very forgetful. He like shrugs. And this one? And Magni will just grunt his name. Well, Golden Fleece. He shrugs like it doesn't matter. But Skjalmod Harson, that's a name that's known in our lands. I think our Jarl would want to speak with him sooner than later. I think that maybe here is a good place to meet.
Your Jarl is welcome to travel to Haedborg.
The Coldbrander doesn't come begging at anyone's door. They come to him. But this neutral ground, maybe, you could convince him. It is best for your Jarl, and best for all, I think, that he really thinks about this decision. To say no to the Coldbrander, to throw away ideas of friendship, would be a bad idea. And the Jotun does a sort of grunt in agreement, and your horse like does a stands up on both legs, sort of like freaking out at the like low bassiness of it. It's like so low that you can feel it in your chest. Just a.
I think it startles Thorin as much as the horse. And once she's steadied her mount, she'll look back at the man. Jarl Harson will hear any man who would meet with him. Give audience to all. Certainly he could be persuaded to give audience to your Jarl.
Good. It's for the best of everyone, I think. Don't want any bloodshed.
What of Golden Fleece? Did he agree to such friendship as you have suggested, and is that why Kolbrander has taken over his land?
No, he refused friendship. Now we're taking his land.
Then he is dead.
Not yet. And again, the horses like kind of lose it.
Yeah, so does Thorin. She's very uneasy at this thing speaking. When would you meet with the Jarl? When would your Jarl wish to strike in the court, as it were?
He like scratches at his nose and thinks about it. There's a blot soon. We could make an event of it. No one comes armed. Peaceful, sacred, religious. He like waves his hand as if like, you know what I'm talking about. In that way, everyone could save face and no one has to get involved in a pissing contest.
What is the purpose of such a meeting? To simply save face? To offer friendship?
To establish a border, establish a friendship, or at least an understanding.
An understanding, certainly. So long as you and your Jarl understand that Jarl Skjalmod would never concede his lands.
He scratches his nose again. Of course, we wouldn't ask him to. Took a lot of time for him to get them, I imagine. Killed one of our old friends. 2, I think, even. Nonetheless, hard-won lands, hard-won lessons. Best for everyone, I think. That we just put it behind us. Soon our lands will border. And then it's for the best that we set up a peace.
Then I will take word to my Jarl. I trust you will do the same.
Of course. Well, he'll like begin to turn his horse. Nice to meet you, Thorin. Nice to meet you, Magni. And he says both names like they're weapons.
Yeah, she calls back. And what was your name?
Iskolfinn.
Well met, Isgrim. I shall see you upon the blot.
I hope so. And he'll smile. And he'll like go to turn and then there'll be like a as the Jotun follows him and keeps pace with his horse at a walking speed.
Thorin is almost nauseous from that conversation and the presence of the Jotnet. And it is with great relief that she turns her horse, and I imagine there's no urging necessary to get it to go the opposite direction.
Yeah, both of the horses are like pawing at the ground, desperate to get away from this thing.
And this is usually just a quick scout. How many men do we have, and how much supplies do we have?
You got 50, which is like more than you ever need. 50 mounted. That's what you have with you. And you have supplies to like make the journey to the border, stay there for like 2 days, and then come back.
Yeah, Thorin would leave 2 men in the area and send 2 to perhaps the nearest holdfast to get further supplies so that there are at least 4. And if any troops or if there's any activity, then a pair of them are to ride hard back, and the other pair to keep watch.
Okay. And you're going back as well, or?
Yes, I'm going back to speak to
Okay.
Skjalmod.
Okay, no worries. Skjalmod, Gunnar is like brought into the long hall. Looks like he's just woken up, or has been woken up. And he will like approach, looking somewhat sheepish, and then he sees the man, and then he like rolls his eyes, but then comes and stands opposite you. Lord?
Gunnar, this man accuses you of slandering him. He will answer you with homegang. What do you say to that?
He like looks at him. This man cheats at dice. I accept.
To 3 shields, I'll look questioningly to the accuser.
His eyes narrow. It's clear he wants to ask for more. He would say, death.
I'll look to Gunnar.
He's in like an awkward position where it's very hard to say no to something like that. It also doesn't look like he wants to, but he does consider it for a second and shrugs. Accept.
Slander and cheating, both grave insults to Tyr and defiance of the law of Hadeland. I'll not have a rivalry continue. You can see that blood alone will not sate your honor. I'll say to the traveler, or to your sense, Gunnar. If it must be so, then let the gods decide, and let you each pay the cost with blood. And I'll like give a wave of the hand, like almost like that's such a shame.
Yeah, Gunnar like puffs his chest up for a second and looks at the man. And then when it's like clear that it's done, we'll leave. The man seems satisfied, at least that it's been like organized. And you like think from his accent and the way he carries himself that he's like from far away and like northern, where this is like much more common way to like deal with problems.
I'll say to Gunnar, aside of that, the blot will happen before twilight. Go be with Greta and your friend and bondsman, and see if you do not wish to retract your words and beg apology of the man. Otherwise, I will watch you stand with courage.
Yes, Lord. You would know that like after he came back, he like didn't find Stein in his like 13 weeks of searching, and like was unable to like avenge the things that were done to Greta, and he has been like aggressive and like often causing this kind of trouble, I guess you could say. More petitioners come and go, asking for this and that, merchants and things like that. And like the queue is like dwindling. And then there's a woman there. She's got like no hair at all, and like no eyebrows. She has like these tattoos across her head. And she carries a staff. And she like approaches and like bows low.
Welcome, old mother. How can I help you on this Odin's Day?
A long time ago, you spake to save the life of a young woman, and it was agreed that there would be a cost.
He turns to Chulric and the other merchants. That will be all. And then when he's alone with her, but for a few trusted guards, he'll nod.
There's always a cost to these things, Sword Wrath. The cost. And it's like she can't even speak properly. Like it's not the witch, the old woman, but it's a woman who like speaks like her. Though it's like fading almost in and out. Your wife has had one miscarriage already. She would not survive another.
If my child is the cost, have I not paid the price enough?
I do not make the rules, nor the bargains.
Will you do the speaking, so speak?
Lives hang in the balance. Only one can live, wife or son. Should your son live, grow healthy and strong, greater than his father still. Should he not? Well, death will find your wife. Should she live, then the son will pass, and every son thereafter.
Well, I must choose and give my answer to you.
Only to yourself.
It's no uncommon thing for child or mother, or even both, to perish in the birthing bed. Is this the full content of your message?
There is another birth that will happen.
He nods knowingly.
Mother or child. You must both think. And then she like taps her staff, and like the windows that are like shuttered closed will like open, and then she will leave, or like be gone rather. Like as you like look up and look back down, she is no longer there. And then you can hear the Lord, it's happening.
What? He'll call. Come in.
The labor pains, they have begun.
Give them what they want, I'll say to Choric, and then rush up the stairs.
You can see the strange glade that you had come to before, Nucky, if that's where you wanted to go, to the troll, Forney. I think is what you said. You go.
Well, you'd probably actually head off to Haedborg.
Okay.
In all honesty, the whole thing about bargains and whatnot. He's thinking about Skjalmod and Childrick.
Yeah, I think it would. It's not a difficult journey, but it would be like relatively long, and you would know that like Fenya is pretty heavily pregnant, so that it could happen any day, and like not fit to travel. So would you go, even so, or would you remain at home?
No, you'd have to remain nearby then, if that's the case.
So you and sit and brood on the strange visions and thoughts and the nonsense of witches and all the shite that they spout nonstop. As you like sit and wait for a few days, and there's like a moment where you can hear or feel rather this like as if like a great pressure wave has like fallen over the place, and immediately afterwards you can hear Fenya begin her labor pains.
I mean, I'm kind of unfamiliar on the customs of Viking age.
I'm not sure either. It's like in a lot of middle-aged cultures, the man will be in the room, but I'm not really sure.
I mean, he would want to be in the room throughout, especially with everything that's happened. So he would rush in, probably getting in the way of what I would imagine is quite a lot of people actually at task.
Yeah, there's like all these women who like slap you aside all the time as you're like trying to like help, but you're not helping. You're just standing there. And like one of the old women of the village would be like, out of the way, like bashing you out of the way and like heating towels and all the mysteries and vagaries that certainly would look like magic. Like that they have all these like strange customs that they do, and there's like certain like incense lit, and there's hot water everywhere, and it's a very confusing thing to be a part of. And it begins and goes on for some time. And similarly in Haedborg, time goes by, hours. It will be like around now that your return journey would cease, and you would see like Haedborg in the distance, Halvar, like you would have left obviously weeks ago to get here. And you can see it in the distance, and you would even see as you like are approaching up the main road, Thorin like barreling past you, I imagine, with like the other scouts and things like that as you like return finally at long last towards Haedborg.
Yeah, I think Halvar would yell to Thorin as she rides past. Thorin! Thorin! Where do you go with such haste?
She'd kind of pull the reins and slow down a little. I must speak to Skjalmod. It is important.
He would frown at that. Bad news. I am just returned. And he would look around, maybe looking for a threat that he can't see. And then he would just kind of nod, just letting her know he understands. And he would do his best to get there as quickly as he could.
And so the two of you can like make your way back into the castle itself, but you would find Skjalmod nowhere to be seen. He's probably pacing up and down in a room upstairs, and it would be like, well, actually, probably wouldn't be made public knowledge until like they know what happens. So hours would go by, I guess, and Thorin, like, I don't think you'd be allowed to. Well, maybe actually. I don't know. It's up to you, Skjalmod, actually, what you'd be doing during the lay-by.
He would be there, waiting and assisting where he can, probably getting in the way more than he would like, and feeling futile and diminished the longer it goes on, in denial of the avatar of the witch in the mirror. And he's kind of like broken from this like helpless thought loop by like loud knocking outside, heralding Thorin. And he probably expected like that she would arrive, but like the urgency of it makes him frown and turns away with great struggle from Gothild's trials to go to the door.
Skjalmod, we must speak soon.
What is it?
Goldbrander.
His forces march?
Upon Golden Fleece's lands. They've claimed them as their own.
He was a fool not to kneel to the king, and now he dies, another chunk ripped off the carcass of Asblar.
They know of you, of your name.
He winces at another scream from inside before saying, I guess that is a good and a bad thing.
This can wait.
He nods. Thank you. And he'll turn back to the room.
Skjalmod.
What is it?
Speak if you ever have need of anything.
I do, and I will.
Of course. Go, sit to your wife.
3 hours turn to 5, turn to 7, and on it goes. And there's so much blood, Naki, just like way more than you would have imagined. And the screaming is just like nonstop, and it's like a scream of like pain and also like rage and determination. Like Fenia is like covered in sweat, and like when you like look at her, you get this like sense of, is it the salt water or is it sweat? And it's like very hard to know the difference. As like she's trying.
I imagine with all this going on, he's probably at this point been pushed into a corner, quite literally in the room, to get him out of the way. And with all this going on, he can't help but fret over everything he's learnt in the last few days, and obviously the years before, wondering when the roar would rear its head again. But for now, he's clutching at an amulet. He was never one for the gods. So I imagine that Fenya has given him a gift that he's clutching and hoping, just praying for the best.
Yeah, it seems to go on forever. And like clutching the amulet, I imagine it's like maybe mirrored by Skjalmod somewhere else, just pacing and like not knowing for so long, and on it goes.
Skjalmod looks at Gothild and remembers the many times she embodies that she's embodied duty over her personal desires, and he knows that the avatar's words are true. She could not live in a sense with this birth to fail. And that if the choice were hers, if he could ever let anyone know of the choice, that she would choose the child. And so he chooses the child.
She is shaky and wan and like exhausted, and it still continues, and there's endless blood and endless screaming. But in the end, it's followed by this like quiet cry, not like the scream of a woman, but like the cry of a baby. One of the like women will like open the door. Lord, quick!
He'll turn and like open the door roughly with like a doom glare.
You can see that Gothel is like holding the baby. That looks, I mean, to you, like a wriggly thing, like not yet cleaned, anything like that. And you can like approach and like hear him like crying loudly, which is the woman says to you, "Good sign, good sign." But Gothild is like shaking, and she looks deathly pale as you approach.
I'll grab our son and put him into her arms and name him Gothard before her.
She like looks at you and smiles. Yes.
A beautiful, healthy son to be proud of, Gothild, wife. And he'll like stroke her forehead.
He'll be strong.
He will. He will have his mother in him.
Yes. And her like breathing is like shallow. And she says, "Very tired."
Sleep then, wife. I will keep safe the land and our son. I have no fear.
She nods and she like closes her eyes and like takes a couple of deep breaths as she like holds the baby, but then breathes no more. There's like panic around the room. It's like the women who are like cleaning the place and like looking after her. Like one of them is like shaking her. One of them like slaps her in the face. Lady, and they like don't know what to do. They like start to call for like the wise women who are here. They like call for the Gothi to come, like for everybody. But there's nothing to be done, it seems.
Yeah, he'll watch clutching Gothard while this flurry of activity around him, like sometimes warply fast, other times grindingly slow, just like fate looping around him. Just hold the sun and let like the skeins twist or be cut where they may.
Nucky, there's a similar situation of blood and screaming, of nonstop panic as you like grip the amulet.
Yeah, the amulet's grip so tight in his hand that the knuckles have went white. You can feel it digging in. Feel the warmth of blood as it begins to drip down his palm. And he closes his eyes, and as he sends his prayer out, all he wants is for Fenrir to be okay. He's not got the same sense of it as Skjalmod. There's a a selfish spark that's still within him, and it's sending out the prayer for Fenya.
As you like pray and like hold the hand so tightly, as you like look down at the blood dripping onto the floor, there's like a and it's like quiet. Like look around the room, you can see that like no one's moving, though you are. It's her that you care about. Already life was sacrificed for her. How much life need it be, Nucky? And you can like look around for like a voice, but you don't see a body.
It need just be one, my own, for hers and the child.
You can see like one of the women who's like squeezing Fenya's other hand and like is like obviously saying encouragement to her. She like looks like her head moves and the eyes lock onto you. You would give your life to save her and the child.
I once made a promise that I would do right by her. I could not deny the child a mother, nor could I deny Fenya her child. Me, however, she could live without.
You have always run, Nucky. You have always made the selfish decision. And now you change. Your life.
I always run, but the direction I ran to led me here. Everything for a reason.
If you give your life in this manner, you will go to the drowned halls of Ran. Is this acceptable?
He'll clutch Fenya's hand tightly and kneel down, placing his forehead against it, and then look up. It is.
So be it. And like all the screams begin again and all the noise, and you can see like all of the women trying to keep this sense of order, even though there's just chaos everywhere. And you like hold Fenya's hand, and she like looks to you, even in her state, as like your grip goes soft, and she like looks and she doesn't understand what's happening. And Nucky falls back from there, seemingly unconscious. She like looks in horror and doesn't know what to do, but can't do anything. Some hours pass, and then some days. And in some weeks, the child is born, healthy, happy, and no sort of strange marks upon it. Fenya is inconsolable, and the mystery of it, deeply confusing. Just drop dead, and no one understands why. Fenya least of all. She like railed and screamed and like went and spoke to you, Skjalmod, to like find out what invisible assassin did this and like what has to be done. And since then, she has been quiet in her castle in Felage with her child.
I'll go to Fenya, and I can't console her really, but I'll do a fumbling man's attempt at it. And I will tell her that when she was wounded in the Battle of the Fens, that Noki laid down a price with the woman of the Myrr that Fenya might live, and promised that he would sacrifice his life for yours when it was needed. There it is, needed. I'll point to the baby in her arms and Noki's price for you to prosper and learn from his life. What will you name the child?
I wanted to call him Nucky, but I had a dream with a name. He spoke to me there. I don't know. Where I'm from, we don't name them until they're a year. What did you name yours?
Gothard.
It's a good name. Strong name.
Noki's a good name. Noki's a strong name.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. We'll just call him the baby until he's a year. So there's name day. And I imagine like a few weeks pass with like people talking to you, Skjalmod, of and it's just like you holding the baby and like looking up occasionally, and people are like zipping in and out nonstop saying, "There's people over this way," blah blah blah, and you have to go to every Wodenstag and like speak to these merchants, and every like Tears Day you have to like go and like watch over law, and it's never ending. But like it all kind of just like passes before you for a few weeks, I would imagine.
I'll agree to parley with Colbranda after Thorin informs me of it. Oh yeah, what happened with Gunnar's fight? Did he kill the man, or was he killed by the man?
Let's roll dice. Somebody want to roll a D20? Over 10, Gunnar wins. Under it, the other guy.
I'll roll the blood dice since it's beyond the blood. It's a 19 on the die.
Yeah, so Gunnar is no fool, and he wouldn't get into a home gang unless he thought he was confident in winning. And so he, it's barely even a fight. It doesn't go on for long, but it's not. There's no like great cheers, nor do people like gather around and like shout and cheer. Some of like Gunnar's friends do, and like the merchant who this man was traveling with watches also. And thereafter, like Gunnar will pay the weregild to the man, and the insult is like dealt with.
Good. I wanted to make sure that happened. I'll mark Gunnar in my mind as I mark similar men to Magni and others that Thorin might speak of, who dissent and so hungry for violence. They'll assemble the party I'll take north to parley with Uthul. And I think that I'll give Falalega to another to administer and relieve Fenya of that, and let her stay in the castle at Haedborg to be cared for by Skjalvik and others that I would have had here for Gothild. I think that's what Noki would have wanted.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'll lie the same way as I lied to her before.
Thorn would speak to Skjalmod when he spoke of that, and just kind of nod. Say, in the village where I grew up, there were 2 boys raised by the same mother. Milk brothers, they were called. Perhaps Fenya could be another mother to your son. He will need a wet nurse if nothing else.
That'd be good, like Alexander and Hephaestion, I think. But Skjalmod would think that as well. And it should be done if Fenya's agreeable. If not, we can continue as we have been since Gothild's passing. But I don't want Fenya to go back to the Myrr with her baby.
Both babies prove like healthy and like grow quickly. Like complications. Neither of them are sickly. At least there's that.
Once I get on top of things, I'll call for Halvar. I want to know a report of the Draka's mission to the capital and to see what happened with our details there. I think Skjalmod, after things are like set at a safe measure, would like bury himself in work before the blot to distract him from the grief. And the anger at the witch. She's been paid thrice for one thing, so there'll be a reckoning for that too. But there are other things more pressing, and so Halvar's mission to Cone Castellig is among them.
Yeah, I think Halvar would probably would have been confused by everything that was going on when he first arrived. So he probably would have learned from some of the folks within the castle itself and given space to his jarl. So I guess when he's finally called forward, he would be very he would look off. You would see the Halvar from years before you Skjalmod, uncertain, stepping from one foot to another, not willing to meet eyes with you. And when asked, he says, and it's only then that he looks up at you. The journey, it was good. We made a good time there and back. We got a fair price. And everything that you had that we would need for the coming months. And there would be that dry kind of recitation of the list and the money spent and earned from the journey.
And how are the men? How did they seem?
Halvar nods his head. Eric is a good man. I've learned much from him. The others, they respect him. They listen to him. They listen to me. They have good men, y'all.
And the folk at the King's Isle, do they speak of Uthul Coldbrander and the wine sinks and brothels? And when you look away, I'll just be like, tell me.
He kind of just sucks his teeth for a second, and he says, yes, my lord. Coldbrander, he gets greedy. That was Coldbrander that attacked. Yeah.
Golden Fleece to our
They actually he got into a skirmish with Drodbang.
Yeah.
It also brushed up against them. It wasn't really a battle, but it was like there was a skirmish.
Yeah. So Halvar would say that it was nothing for them to push him back. It is there are some things that even that the devil cannot hope to do. I imagine Skjalmod, at least at one point, had journeyed with Halvar to this great city, and I guess I also think that Torin would have told Halvar in the time leading up to this about the Jotnite.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have more than one there, and as you know, Lord, Olvar Isai, and he doesn't finish. He licks his lips, nervous.
You'll bear my banner when we strike north to parley with the Coldbrander.
You see him shift his feet uneasily, and he kind of looks up and squints at you. Rubs his fingers through the makings of a beard, marking him more of a man. He says, "That is what I wish to speak with you about, my king, my lord. I was approached by a man there, captain of a mercenaries."
Eric told me.
He nods. "So he told you what the man asked of me?"
Don't blame him. He has. I have his oath.
"I don't, Lord. I would not keep anything from you. You have been good to me. But truth be told, my heart yearns to see new lands. I could do this if I joined these men. But I would not do so unless you freed me of my oath to you." And he looks in your eyes, Skjalmod.
You'd have me release you from your oath before the blot and parley with Coldbrander.
Shakes his head no.
My right, withhold your requests. You're bound to your life by that word to me. But I would consider it if you'd swear another oath.
Lord?
If I should fall against Coldbrander in the coming days or months or years, that you'll see to Gothard and teach him what I've tried to teach you and what Grim has taught you and the others of Hadeland. He'll need strong, wise men about him in the future, whatever may come. Swear to do this thing, and I release you from your oath, and you can go to explore what further wonder and horror this Norns have woven for your fate.
Halvar feels sick as the weight of the Jarl's words rest on him. It would be my honor.
Go and seek battle, find a woman to marry.
Halvar's about to say something, and he stops. He nods his head, and then he leaves.
Ooh. Let's take a real quick break and then talk to you for cover around there.
Holy shit.
Oh, I feel miserable. That was great.
Yeah, don't mind me crying over here, just listening to Skjalmod make the worst choice of his life and feel miserable.
I'm gonna go kind of come up with
Hennocky.
that.
Oh god.
Yeah, at
Okay,
least Skjalmod's
nope.
alive to feel miserable.
I know. I was so shocked. It happened so quickly. I thought it would just happen, but I didn't think it was going to happen right there. That was just nuts.
I need milk and Oreos. I'll be back.
Yeah, I'll be back in a few.
Lloyd, you're just utterly shattering my heart this session.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I'm gonna need like 3 hours of happy sitcom to recover. Ugh. Like, I'm just thinking of how sad Skjalmod must be.
Poor Gothild.
Oh, poor Gothild. But he was right. She would have picked the baby.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I can't think of like anyone on Earth who wouldn't.
Oh, and poor Fenya. Ugh, you're killing me.
We'll be right. So preparations are made and work is done. And on the sort of halfway point, you can arrive with your people in tow, as many as you'd like to bring. And you can see that like a stage has been set up, platform and like tents and things like that. Not like a military camp, but like a place that you could have a blot. And you can see that it's not like, it doesn't look like an army is here. It looks like people are here to like enjoy the blot and take part of it. There's also like a pretty big tent that's been set up, which is obviously for you to meet in and discuss. You'd be like greeted as you like enter into the area by like a couple of men on horses who will like give like polite greetings, and then will like bring you into the camp area.
I'll have the retinue like take their time about it. I want them to soak in the power of the enemy and to spy that Jotun if we can. And to give Magni and Halvar and the others who yearn for battle a glimpse of what the other shield wall might look like. And nod reverentially and genuinely to like the warriors or stewards of the enemy who escort us in. Yeah,
there's no breach of like politeness. They're extremely formal and polite in all their sort of dealings with you. And then we'll like bring you to this big tent where you can enter with like your closer companions. There's like a huge table set up. We've been brought here somehow. And like comfortable chairs. There's like a sort of wooden floor that's been laid down and furs on it and things like that. Braziers with fire to keep the place warm. And at one end of the table, you can see stands the Jotunnet, this enormous creature. He's like standing like a statue, basically. He barely seems to breathe as he like looks in your direction as you enter. And you can see that like sitting at the end of the table with like a map in front of him and as well as some food is Uthal Colbrander, who's like a man. He looks a lot younger than you would have thought, maybe. He looks like in the prime of his life. Healthy, with a black beard and hair that is like relatively short and like disheveled. He doesn't wear any like particular finery. He has a suit of like, not a suit, a coat of leather that like hangs with fur over the shoulders. And he has like rings on many of his fingers as he like picks up a piece of meat and chews on it, and then like looks up as you approach, and he'll stand. You are Skjalmod. Jarl Skjalmod. I have heard much of you. Come and sit.
Lord Uthal. And he'll walk forward, trusting that his people being looked to. Is it just simply Uthal and the stranger in here at this table and fair?
So there would also be a woman sitting in the back, though she doesn't like hover or anything like that. You would see that she is like of middle age, with like hair that's red and like is so long that it like touches the floor.
If he is two, then I will as well. And Halvar and Thorin, I'll wait for them to take their place at the table before I go up to where Uthal had like bid me or intended me.
Yeah, he'll go and meet you halfway, and will like click his fingers, and someone will bring a plate with meat, salt, and mead, and he will like take a piece of the meat and like dip it in the salt and chew it and swallow, and then take a drink from the cup and then put it back onto the table so you can do the same.
Yeah, I will, of course. Take the meat and salt and wash it down with whatever's offered.
Good. You are my guest. And the three of you and all of your people, no harm will come to you. This I swear before the Aesir and the Vanir. And then he'll like go back and sit down.
And I will honor your hospitality, host, and he'll go and take his chair.
I thought it best that we discuss what's to be done. My lands now brush against yours, and I don't want any misconceptions, any rumors to spread, or any suggestion of foul play. My enemies know who they are, and you are not my enemy. At least not yet. I hope it doesn't come to that.
I too prefer words if they can be spoken and heard. What do you suggest, Lord Uthal?
That we make a pact, an agreement. I have some terms to suggest. And thereafter, if we agree, I'm sure there will be haggling. That a peace exists between us. And who knows, maybe even friendship thereafter. Terms are very simple. A hard border. You go no further than the fork in the river, at least not with large groups of men. And I cross no further than that point. All trade is to be monitored, though it is encouraged, certainly. A road to be constructed between this place. What do we call this place? He like asked over his shoulder. And the woman says, Golden Fleece. Uthal shakes his head at that like it's a stupid name. We will come up with a name for this place. But between this place and one of your towns, a road we built. Beyond that, no aggression between our people. An oath that we both swear to the Gothi. And then finally, a way to bind this beyond the gods in a more personal sense. A marriage, a hostage, something similar, a ward. We will come to an agreement there, I'm certain.
You must know I'm sworn to the king and the king's isles, and am only as proxy at best in the matters of borders. I'm certain I could convince His Majesty that the hard river border between our realms for now serves the interests of both realms.
I have no way to contact the king.
I do, and can so transfer your message to him. Trade in hand with peace is always welcome in Hadeland and beyond. And to that end, a road seems no problem. A bridge on either side must be guarded on either side to ensure the mutual sovereignty of both regions. I could take this to the king. My word is iron, and an oath spoken if needed for a compact. Could be given if the terms between us are agreeable. And as for marriage and a hostage, my own lands might only bind me to an oath if it is between you and the king. hostages or marriage between him and yourself might have further effect than what I could offer. Our land of late is beset by fate and the cruel hands of the Norns. And you would have to look well to find folk left to such an end. You mentioned haggling. What else? That
those terms are agreeable to me. Ever the fates piss on us, he'll say at your comment. They make a mockery of our plans. Nonetheless, I'm not speaking to the king, I'm speaking to you. You are the one who rules these lands, and though you may be sworn to the king, you still make the decisions here. That is clear. That's why I speak to you and not to the king. If I wanted to speak to the king, he shrugs.
I feel implored to say to you, Lord, that you should speak with the king.
I think the king doesn't like me. I think that he thinks I'm a warmonger.
You could forgive him for feeling threatened at how you've ripped apart Asblot after he deposed the high jarls there.
A man like the king, if he leaves a whale corpse upon the beach, does he not think that predators will come? This agreement is between me and you, Skjalmod.
And what of the lands of Raudgren to the south?
To him I have not yet spoken.
Then I propose that my lands extend to the coast along the river, that there be no confusion in that matter regard.
Sorry, I don't quite know what you mean, Nico.
Like if we follow the river all along and just cut Golden Fleece in half.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
And cut him off from from Raudgren's lands.
He sits back in the chair and like picks up another piece of meat and throws it into his mouth and chews. Interesting. The richer part of Golden Fleece's land is south of the river. This is why I suggest the fork. As for Raudgren, I hadn't spoken to him yet. I don't intend him any harm. This is as far south as I like to go. A little bit warm for my taste.
Are we on good terms with Raudgren?
No idea. I don't recall him at all.
No, you haven't met him. But I think like in the 2 years you would have, and you would be on like similarly sort of like neutral terms as you are with Wiglaf. Like no like aggression has happened, nor has any like overt friendliness. It's just been like people trade, everything is fine, but there's no like great loyalty or great dislike.
Because it's hard to tell on the map, but it looks like the border is like the edge of the swamp on that side of...
The other side of the fens, yeah, is where
Yeah.
his begin.
Okay. Just checking.
And he's saying there's rich lands in the south on that coastal part that he wants.
He's saying that of Jarl Goldenfleece's land, the richer part is the south across the river as opposed to the north. Which is why he's like not keen to give it away.
Then added to the oath that you'll go no further south, and that Raudgren's sovereignty be respected, and that you'll recognise that we guarantee that Jarl's independence.
He thinks about it. No way to the inner sea.
That's right. We've had that trouble before, a lesson that I thank you for teaching us.
They say that Orm ran from the shield wall. Is that so?
Twice, but nonetheless came forth bravely in the end to die. I put a weapon in his hand, though I wonder if it was fitting. Somehow I do not think he'll run from Ragnarok, but I guess we'll see.
He thinks and chews. And you know this Rathgrim? This Jarl to the
Well
south?
enough. A peaceable man, not a fool.
Not like Golden Fleece.
Do not expect the Jarl to heed my wisdom, threatened as he no doubt was by the expansion of Hadeland. I warned him to kneel to the king and spare his lands. His fate was sealed, and here we are, in his land, eating his fish.
A lot of men don't like to kneel.
Life is doing things we don't like.
True. If I cannot take or acquire peaceably the lands of Jarl Rathgrim, then I have no way to the inner sea, and I have no way to the great trade of the world.
You would through your friends and our trade road and your own words to say that you had no desire to go further south. How could any be threatened by Iskolfinn trades if it comes washed through the loyal lands of Hadeland?
You make good points.
I must. There is a horde of Iskolfinn at my borders. The one they call Flamesower at his head, a Jotun at the host, and others who put fear in those who would be shield shakers.
I do not intend to sow flames in your lands, even if we come to no good agreement here. It seems that you're a man who does as he says he will do, and that is important to me. You have a reputation as such, and I can respect that. Very well. I will not go to the lands of Jarl Rathgrim. But the land south of the river, where it borders his lands, will go to me.
And we will swear our oaths on this and build a road and bridge between us to be taxed and for trade. And what of the marriage or hostage?
Indeed.
I can think of none other than your wife or child that the king would accept, or myself, if my own decision. But I know you, or fool enough to think that I know you, that you will not give over either, as you can safely assume, is the same with me.
A friend, then. Someone who is dear to you, for someone who is dear to me.
I possess no hostage of weight enough for this agreement than my son and my sister-in-law will not give.
I would go.
He winces at that, hearing the words that he'd hoped it wouldn't come from over behind at the table.
You are Thorin.
I am.
They say you love Skjalmod.
He has been my shield brother and my friend for a long time. She says, avoiding the question.
Hmm. I think that you are prepared to die, Thorin. And I think that Skjalmod has watched you almost die many times. And I think the thought of you dying is not as frightening to him as that of his son or his sister-in-law. I think that you would make a poor hostage.
The thought of me dying, perhaps. But you do not intend to kill me, I would presume. Jarl Kolbrander.
No, I do not. But the entire purpose of a hostage is the threat of death. If that does not exist, if Skjalmod thinks that if he is not dissuaded from any aggressive action by thought of your death, then you are useless as a hostage. I'm certain you're useful at other things.
Tis not only the threat of death that makes a hostage good, but the threat of life away. That you would treat the hostage well. Skjalmod knows me. Knows that my heart and my desires for adventure and for loyalty.
He kind of nods slowly. Is there a way from the river through the fens into the inner sea?
Through the fens and into Hadeland and then into the sea there is, but through the fens into the sea, no. Those lands are bordered by Jarl Floki, a Sjödalander, a Sjödafora.
And if I'm not mistaken, Jarls, the fens all belong to Skjalmod.
Trading overland is difficult and takes a long time. I understand.
The king will not allow dragon prows in the inner sea. I will not allow that.
Well, we're at somewhat of an impasse, I think. You've no hostages to give me, or none that you will give.
And you, else we'd switch our sons and ward them both, as truth of our compact.
He thinks about it.
But my wife does not live to protest.
He leans forward, puts his elbows on the table. I think that you might be bluffing. I don't think you will give me your son. They say that I eat babies, and they say that I spread flames everywhere I go. I don't think you would give her baby to this man. Nor would I give my son to you, if I could avoid it. He has to learn by watching. I want him to watch me.
An impasse. You have no sisters. El Swanhild would suit as my hostage for yours.
Hmm. He scratches his beard and he thinks, we agreed on almost all points. And yet this hostage drives a stake. Though it is hard for me to accept anything beyond a hostage that is valuable to you. This has been effective in dealing with other jarls. So if it must be sons, then it will be sons.
I would have your oath that you'd raise him as if he were your own, and I would make the same oath to you, if that's the price of peace in southern Asblar.
My son is a gentle boy. Not like me. He's had it soft, I suppose. I'm a lot richer than my father was.
Skjalmod nods, knowing the same thing.
I don't want him growing up soft. Soft men do not rule this world. I cannot. But I agree. I will raise him as my son. And you, mine as yours.
And when they've both come of age, we can meet again and make pacts anew.
Agreed.
My son is a baby still. Perhaps when he is 9 or 10 months, to be certain on the road.
We should wait until his name day. Better omen.
Agreed.
I will go with him.
Uthal can't help but raise an eyebrow, which is the most emotion that he's shown so far. For what purpose?
To remind him of his home and his father.
I would accept a similar ward, Lord Uthal.
All right. He stands and he walks to the halfway point between the two tables and he spits into his hand.
Skjalmod takes his right hand and puts it across his mouth horizontally and bites down into the soft flesh between his forefinger and thumb until blood spills down, and he'll meet the palm.
He shakes your hand and looks you in the eye, and then he'll recite an oath of basically what you had just said, the terms, and then wait for you to respond in the sort of ritualistic way that you should. And when that's done, he'll smile and clap you on the shoulder. I'm glad that we've come to these terms, and then no blood had to be spilled. It's bad business, war.
It is a Jarl's duty to spare his people from it when he may, and to risk their blood when he must.
Well said. And so a couple of hours would go by, and the blot will be undertaken. This like big celebration. Uthal has brought like some aurochs from way up north. These like massive animals to be sacrificed as a sort of thank you for the peace, and at the end of his conquest, as he sees it. And so there's like much celebration. The blot goes without any issue. And a raven even calls, it seems, as the aurochs dies. And so then there is a great celebration that follows with music and dancing and singing as everyone, like the men from the two camps, mingle without any overt fights. Everyone is clear in the fact that a peace has just been sworn, and so the men are in good spirits, most of them. Is there anything you'd like to do during the blot?
I think I'd like to just eat and drink in silence with Uthal Colbrander.
Yep.
There was I don't know, I kind of liked him. Something about him. I think just like let like what's happened, I try and process at a time, but then make my way to watch the blot amongst the men and then foster the good cheer, and try and find myself alongside Thorin and Halvar.
There's probably a moment like later in the evening where the two of you will be like sitting and like eating and looking out over the celebration and the peace, and he would like turn and just give you this like nod and a smile, and maybe Skjalmod returns it. Halvar will eventually go, I think, to join the tumult, and Thorin goes to live with Uthal Colbrander and Gotthard. A year would go by, I suppose, and and Gotthard would be sent away with Thorin. And it would be then that like Fenya would name the child this like name that she kept talking about in her dream. She like says it, and it like strikes you as a little odd. Skjalmod, it's like not Nocky anyway. Doesn't even sound like a traditional name in the same way. It doesn't have like a normal prefix or anything like that. Sounds foreign and odd, but you shrug. And that's probably where we're going to leave it, I think. If you guys want to do like an epilogue or something for your peeps, you can more than welcome to.
I think Skjalmod would find Halvard and come good on his promise and release him from his oath. Coincidentally, around the same time as or before the hostage exchange. He'll hand over his blade, the gift from Einos, and remind Halvar of his oath to Gotthard, and genuinely wish him well, whatever his adventure may bring.
Yeah, I think that would be something that Halvar would truly, it would just really cement for Halvar what he's believed all along, that Skjalmod is a great man and a man of his word. I think for Halvar, the ending scene that I would see for him is not necessarily the one with Skjalmod. but it would be the evening before he leaves, maybe never to see Skjalmod again. He makes his way to the rooms that Gothard is kept in. He knocks quietly at the door, and he hears a murmur from the other side. And as he enters, he sees the woman that is caring for the child, the wet nurse. He would just kind of nod to her, and he would make his way over to the child, look down in the crib, and then look at the woman. Then, hopefully with a nod of approval, he would scoop the child up, and he would look down at him. He would just look at him for several minutes before he says anything. He's never held a child before, so it's awkward. But the babe is warm, sleeping quietly. And he would just more whisper than, you are, and he corrects himself. You will be great. Probably greater than your father. He is a great man, and it is because of him that I think I too will be great. And he reaches into this pocket, and he draws forth this stone. This was given to me by my mother when I was a babe myself. I've kept it with me always. She told me it would make me strong, give me strength. Whatever challenge life lay in my way, lay in my path, I give it to you now freely, that you will go strong as well. And you would tuck this stone into the swaddling of the child before he puts him back down in the crib and leaves, probably getting on some boat as it heads out further into the inner sea.
Skjalmod will make sure Thorin and whatever retinue go with Gothard north have everything they need, and will go to the river border to see them off.
Yeah, the exchange can happen there. Uthel's boy is like 3.5 years old, and he cries and is nervous, obviously, about what's happening here. He doesn't know what the situation is, and he Uthal tries to keep it, or it does keep it together. Like he just looks straight ahead. I imagine Skjalmod does too. As his baby begins to cry as well. There's definitely some difficult moments in swapping children, but nonetheless it goes through. And then up they go to the Painted Cliffs, and you can take Uthal's son with you.
Protect him, Thorin, and bring him back when he is a man.
You have my word, yeah.
You didn't have to go, but I'm glad that it's you with Gothard, whatever may come.
I would not have seen your son away from you. But if he must, then I will keep him safe. And I will tell him of you.
If it should be that I never see him again, teach him for me the value of peace.
I will. Be well, Skjalmod.
Skjalmod will hug Thorin so she doesn't see him crying with his one arm around her. And then he'll turn gruffly and like grab down at Uthal Uthalson. Come, boy, with me. And move back to his own lines.
And Thorin is holding Gothard Skjalmodson. And when they reach the cliffs, and perhaps on the journey there, she'll start to whisper the stories of his father. Then when he grows fretful, she'll sing a bit off key, but carefully, the lullabies that she had Fenya and the nursemaids teach her.
And so you go north, and Halvar goes to Drudbanum, and Skjalmod with Uthal's son, and now his son in a way, returns to Haedborg to remain Jarl. And seasons come and go, and it rains and it snows, and all is different and all is the same. And that's where we're going to leave it.
Thank you, Lloyd.
For a wonderful campaign, guys. That was great. And yeah, thanks if you watched. I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.